I'm Darren Allen, Assistant Dean at Lawson State Community College, and we're here today to discuss and gain an understanding of the student discipline policy and due process procedures at the college. You will find information regarding student discipline policy and due process in the most recent catalog and student handbook of the college found on the college's webpage at lawsonstate.edu. For the purposes of this presentation, I've extracted that from the catalog. You'll see that it is on page 97 of the electronic catalog, but a printed copy, you'll find this policy listed on page 48. Actually, the student discipline policy and due process procedures as it relates to students is taken from the Student Code of Conduct. The Student Code of Conduct is administered through the Division of Student Services under the direction of the Dean of Students and the administrative assistants who assist with this process. I am serving currently as administrative liaison for student discipline. Now, the Student Code of Conduct is the college's written declaration or recognition that you as a student are part of our academic community as well as a citizen of our country, and you do have certain rights. But as you have certain rights, we have certain expectations for you being a part of this educational community. The college exists for educational purposes, and we assume and we expect the students who attend here are here for the same purposes, and that you would conduct yourselves in a manner consistent with the purpose of the college and your stated educational goals. The Student Code of Conduct has been established with certain categories that we are expecting students not to violate, that is, for the betterment of the entire institution. We have developed the Student Code of Conduct, which deals with college documents and policies. It deals with student possible misconduct with college-sponsored activities, student misconduct in college and personal property, that is, the property of the college and personal property of other students. It also deals with college instruction and as how the students relate to not disrupting the instructional process. The college has also placed a category dealing with firearms, drugs, and alcohol on campus and at sponsored activities. And finally, with harassment, that is, harassment of other faculty, staff, or even fellow students. Now, students who are found to or accused of being in violation of these categories will find themselves in a position where they would have a disciplinary matter taken, or a disciplinary hearing to take place. But along those lines, I'm going to skip down here to page 50 to due process rights of students, that even though a student is accused or may be accused of misconduct, the college recognizes that the student has substantive and procedural due process rights. And so it is our goal to ensure that students are treated fairly. That's simply what due process means. It basically means that a student is treated fairly. Along those lines, students who are accused of misconduct have the right to a hearing. But in many cases, we find that students don't wish to go through the process of going through an investigation and meeting with a committee to have to defend the charges when they very well know that it is likely true. But in any event that a student wishes to waive the right to a formal hearing or make a voluntary written confession of the allegations and waives the rights of a hearing, the violation may be administratively disposed of if these two conditions are met. Number one, it is in the best interest of the college and the student concerned. And number two, the student concerned consents in writing to administrative disposition, that is, to have this case handled administratively without a committee. At a conference with the student in connection with the allegation, the student shall be advised of his or her rights. If the student accepts the administrative disposition or finding, the student shall sign a statement that he or she understands the formal charges, that his or her rights to a hearing have been waived, and that a penalty is imposed, and that uh, the waiver of the rights to appeal is also acknowledged. That is, the student will acknowledge that they choose not to appeal. In the administrative disposition, the penalties imposed should not differ from those that are stated in the definition of disciplinary actions. Now we can kind of go back over and look at those actions. I'll just show you those, and we're going to finish, go to a hearing first, and then we'll come back. But I wanted you to note that there are disciplinary actions that can be taken, but those actions would still be consistent whether you're before a committee or before an administrator. Now, before we go into those, I do want to go to what if a student chose to have a hearing. A formal hearing, if a student chooses a formal hearing, the student will receive notice of the charges and the implications of the charges. They may be given to a student orally or in writing prior to the hearing. It is the college's current practice to forward students a letter explaining this process. The list of witnesses and the expected testimony will be given to the accused student prior to the hearing or at the hearing itself. Some hearings are expedited at the request of the student, and prior notice of persons who are testifying may not be necessary. But a disciplinary committee composed of college faculty, staff, and 2 students will be convened to conduct the hearing. It is the duty of the disciplinary committee to hear all evidence presented concerning the alleged misconduct or violation. But because the college is an academic institution and not a court of law, the disciplinary committee is not bound by the common laws of evidence or civil procedure. So you need to understand that hearsay may be used in a hearing. That is, someone may repeat something that they heard from someone else, and the committee will take all of that under consideration. But at the hearing, the student has a right to present a defense. The student has a right to speak. The student has a right to present testimony of others, as well as written affidavit of witnesses on the student's behalf. A student also may have a counsel present, that is legal counsel, an attorney. If so, the college expects the courtesy of a notification. That is, if an attorney is to come, we are to be informed before the hearing. The counsel will be allowed only to advise the student and not to actively participate in the hearing. The college is not required to provide the opportunity for cross-examination, but may do so at the discretion of the chief hearing officer, that is, the chair of the disciplinary committee. The disciplinary committee will then report its findings to the student within 72 hours of the hearing. The findings shall be reported to the president of the college or his designee, and the said person will notify the student of the results of the hearing and the implications of the decision. Any student who is dissatisfied with the results as a part of due process of the hearing, the student has the right to request an appeal, and there will be an appeals committee that will be convened, and that appeals committee would consist of a different set of persons rather than those who heard the original hearing. Now let's go back, if you will, to look at the definition of terms. What could happen if a student is found to be in violation of the student code of conduct? Of course, the committee will look at the severity of the action and determine disciplinary actions commensurate with the offense. That is, the committee is not likely to impose something or attempt to impose something that is totally out of line with the severity of the offense. Note that under the definition of terms, the student can receive a warning. The committee may determine that a warning is necessary. A warning is used for minor infractions of college regulations and consists of a restatement of the regulation violated with an official warning concerning future behavior. The restriction notifies the student that any further violation of the college's regulation will subject the student to further disciplinary action, that the student must maintain exemplary conduct during the period of restriction. The restriction is generally for an indefinite period of time, but not less than 1 academic semester or term. Termination of the restriction is generally based on the student's cooperative attitude, academic progress, and positive contributions of service to the college. The college may also have, through its committee, a finding of probation, a disciplinary action of probation, which is basically a strong restriction that says that this student is being watched and that this student must not violate any other college regulations. A student under this restriction is notified in writing. A student on disciplinary probation is warned that any further violation while under probation will lead to extension of the probation or the restriction, disciplinary suspension, or disciplinary dismissal. Dismissal is commensurate with expulsion, as you may have known in other settings. The student may not hold any office, elective or appointive, in any student organization while on probation. Now, the third thing is that the college may determine that an immediate temporary suspension is required. And this is imposed in a situation when a student's presence poses a danger to themselves or others, or even a disruption to the academic process. So that means that that student has to officially stay off campus until the results of a disciplinary hearing has been determined. That is, an administrative one or the actual formal hearing with the committee. Suspension is basically removing or withdrawing a student from the college for a stated period of time. Usually it's not less than a semester or a term. And the student must make formal application for readmission. If you're suspended, you must reapply for admission and follow whatever procedures that are listed in your letter denoting the suspension. Finally, dismissal or expulsion is the strongest disciplinary restriction. A penalty this severe generally indicates that a student may not return to the college unless he or she is granted special dispensation from the president of the college or the president's designee. And it is important that you recognize that this is serious. Disciplinary dismissal would apply to a student who is guilty of chronic violations or a major breach of the code of conduct, so that rehabilitation possibilities appear to be remote. Now, this is in a nutshell the student discipline policy at the college. There are a number of other policies that you may feel free to read and peruse, but it was my charge today just to give you a basic understanding of these policies and where to locate them. The college handbook is available for your perusal, or you may feel free to contact the Office of the Dean of Students and the Division of Student Services, or you may contact me at Student Life in the Office of Student Life in Academic Building B on the Birmingham campus, or by email at dallen@lawsonstate.edu.